Hello. Welcome to my little hot mess hairdo today. But I wanted to just record a quick little video because I had something happen recently, and it was something I realized that I should probably share because it's something that I really want more people to be aware of within themselves. And that is well, first of all, if you've noticed that you have like any situations where maybe not the exact situation, but similar situations have arisen in your past and you don't know the trigger or like what is causing those things to repeat, first of all, you can message me and I can support you in that. But so for me, like many of us, there's lots of different things that I've kind of chosen to put in my path because I believe that we are all designed this way, and we design ourselves in a certain way to go through certain challenges that help us to get where we want to go in our lives. And for me, one of those things, and I've talked about this publicly before, but was my journey in my relationship with my husband and with money and debt and all of those things. And I want to keep this video somewhat brief, so I'm not going to go into all of the details, but sorry, I'm walking, so it's a little wobblier than normal. So I mean, ultimately, this has been probably a lifelong thing, to be honest, because I can trace it back to my younger years. Patterns with money and debt and shame around these things, especially in fear. So I don't remember if it's 2 or 3 years ago, I'm not sure, but I had hit $25,000 in my business in a month, cash. I had done 6 figures in sales before, but the first time I had hit that much in cash in just a single month. And I was so excited. I had just hired a coach that I had been in her world, but I hadn't worked with her privately really in an intensive situation. So I had hired this mentor that I loved, I still love, and paid 5 figures, more than I'd ever paid for coaching. And then the next month I had this big month, and it was like 2.5, like 2.5 times, no, 2 times. I don't know. It was significantly more. I think the month before I had made around like 10,000. So it was a big jump for me, and I was really excited. But then immediately following that, it's like this sense of like fear and dread and, oh my God, I have to keep this going set in. So I tended to like go into hyperdrive. And I didn't realize this necessarily, these patterns back then, but looking back now, I can recognize these patterns. So I'm just explaining it that way. But I could recognize that now I started to recognize like this is a repetitive thing. This isn't the first time this has happened. But what happened was I made the money. I felt great, celebrated for like a blip, like not even like an hour. It's like, woohoo, celebrate, and then move on. What do I need to do next? How do I get to 50,000? How do I do this again? How do I keep repeating this? So that's what I focused on. And you know what? The next month, I dropped back down to like 8K, I think. And it was okay because I was like, you know what? That's okay. All good. And then I got a message from a client who owed me like $6,000 and they were due for their payment. And I said, I've got this unexpected thing. My wife has to have surgery and I can't pay you. And it wasn't that he didn't have the money, but he was choosing not to pay me. And I honestly went into freak out mode because I had planned my future based on that $6,000. And that might sound ridiculous to some, to others, you probably understand. But like at the time, 6,000 was a lot of money to me. And that was like more than a month at that time of my expenses. And so I kind of like my nervous system like went nuts. And I went back into fear instead of like riding that excitement, like no worries, we'll just got it, like we'll get back on the horse. No, the exact opposite happened. And so in order to like circumvent what I was feeling, I wanted to feel safety with money. And mind you, in all of this, I didn't tell my husband what was going on because somehow I thought it meant something about me. Like there was something wrong with me, that this client didn't want to pay me, or that I didn't have like better things in place. And actually, this was when I was still making clients sign contracts, and I don't do that anymore. I just have them agree to terms and conditions now. So he had signed a contract. I had technically done everything right, but I still internalized that and just like, I failed. I didn't make the same amount of money or even like as much as I had made the month before I hit that high. And then now I had this person defaulting. I didn't know what I was going to do. And instead of like just being like, well, okay, you can just go fucking do this again. Like this, you like have people paying you like $3,000, $5,000, $6,000, $10,000 in cash at a pop. But yet this like $6,000 made it mean so much. Not getting to 25,000 made it mean so much. And I went into fear. So what did I do? I went and I took out a loan to help me in my business. It was actually a personal loan. But so I got in this offer. I'm like, this is the universe telling me you should take this loan. And I did it. And I didn't talk to my husband because in my mind, I was like, I have all of the things in place to just like make this back, and I don't plan to use all these funds. I like put the money in an account, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna like take a little bit for this month, and then I'll make the money and I'll pay that off, and we'll just like pay off the loan and be done with it. Well, but then I started pulling more because more and more fear came, and I started pulling more from that money. And mind you, in this time, I thought I was doing mindset work. I was tapping, I was doing stuff, but my nervous system was a fucking wreck. And I was judging myself so harshly, and there was so much fear. And the thing is, and I think many of you know this, but I just need to say it, is that sorry, I need to turn around and head back to the house here. When your nervous system is not prepped for the big jumps in the income, when it's not prepped for the dips in your income, those things can hit you really hard. And for me, it like caused me to shut down. It caused me to go into shame. And then that caused me to hide things from my husband. And again, we have an overall good relationship. Now, we've had our nuances and our issues over the years. And those have definitely improved in the last several years. But it was just like, I couldn't fathom telling him the truth about what was happening. Because I was so afraid that if he knew the truth, I told myself that he would leave me, that, all sorts of things. But really when it comes down to it, the fear that I felt, it was just like overwhelming. And I didn't want to lose him. I didn't want to face his judgment. And really, looking back, he was just a mirror for me, because it was showing me things about myself that I needed to reflect, showing that I was lacking a lot of belief in myself still, even though I had done mindset work, even though I had done energetic work, even though I did embodiment work, even though I taught this shit, it still hit me. And I didn't think anything of it. Like I said, I ended up dwindling that whole loan, going back into debt in my credit cards, because we had paid off like $50,000, $60,000 on credit cards just like 2 years before, like in a matter of like a few months. It was insane. And I hit it. And then, fast forward a few months, and there's a longer part of this story, but we'll tell this part. Fast forward a few months, I just like, this overwhelming fear and guilt was there. And it's like, I knew I needed to tell my husband, but I didn't do it in the right way. And I did it right before I left to go out of town for like a few weeks without him. And it's just like, guilt spew all over. And like, yes, it's not my responsibility to clean up his reaction and any of those things. But the whole point is that it blew up. It turned into a massive thing, not just a fight, not just an argument, but it was a violation of his trust. And for me, it was all about, but if I told you, you judge me. If you do this, you'll judge me. But really, it wasn't him. It wasn't him. And yeah, we both have our own things. When you yourself are unhealed and you get into relationships, oftentimes you attract other people that have similar wounds or have their own healing to do. And so yes, did he have some of his own fears and stuff coming up in there? 100%. But the truth is that for the most part, it was all me. I was afraid of myself. I was judging myself. I was afraid I would reject myself, that I would stop loving myself. And in reality, I probably didn't really love myself, because if I did, I would know that I can make mistakes. You can make mistakes. You're going to make a lot of them. And in human design, I'm a 1-3. If you have a 3, that trial and error in your profile, you know. We go through a lot of trial and errors, and sometimes that can feel like failures. And I mean, even if you don't have a 3 and you go through this, same thing, but we do it a lot. But it doesn't mean you're a failure. But learning to face yourself and fucking love yourself regardless of those things, and have a fucking like mental capacity and belief system in yourself that is so grounded in your fucking power. And sometimes it's not about confidence. Sometimes it's more about just like knowing that you've got yourself, knowing that you might not be okay in this moment, that you might be ashamed, you might feel the things, but you're okay despite that. And you can let that energy, those emotions move through you. And it's learning to do that work that will change your life. It will change your relationships. It will change your relationship first and foremost with yourself. But as you do that, it's going to ripple fucking out. And you become, as you do this too, not only do you become more magnetic to love, acceptance from your partners, from the people in your life, but you also become more magnetic to money, to ease, to abundance in your business, in your life. And I've seen it time and time again, because when I am in that state, in that receptive, feminine, safe place, money flows. Life happens with ease. My relationship is amazing. And these are the things that I help my clients do. And once I kind of got over that hurdle myself, and I'll tell you, it wasn't sunshine and rainbows, everybody. It was a fucking journey. But getting through that has been the biggest milestone in my life, in my business, and has changed everything. And that is, and the reason it's changed everything is because this is how sustainable success happens. It doesn't just happen when you learn how to make money, because again, I had those big months, and the same stuff happened when I hit 50,000 too, but that's a whole nother story, because I hadn't fixed it. But it will just keep repeating. At your 10,000, your 20,000, your 50, your $100,000 months, if you don't take care of you. Okay, sorry, a little car driving by there. Had to pause for a second, so I lost my train of thought. But anyway, the point is that when you decide that you've got you, that you're okay, despite what's going on, despite mistakes, despite what's happening in your surroundings, despite what anyone else says, and you know how to stand in that strong feminine fucking power and loving yourself regardless of what's happening around you, that's when your nervous system becomes safe. That's when you become a vessel to receive. That is when business becomes easy. It's not just about, fixing your schedules. It's not just about hiring people and having a team or having systems, because honestly, none of that will fucking matter. I've done it. I've done it all. None of it will matter unless you do this work first. I used to have 9 people on my team. I now have 2. And some days I think I don't even need 2, because life and business is so much easier than what it used to be, because I've done this work. And it's the exact same with every one of my clients that I hire. Their teams reduce, their lives become easier, their workloads become less, and their bank accounts go up. And if that's what you're looking to have in your life, if you want that unfiltered, unleashed expression and ease beyond your wildest dreams, just reach out. Let's have a conversation. I've got some amazing opportunities, both free and paid, that are coming up right now. This is as of June 2025, but I always have got different things going. So feel free to reach out if this message resonated with you. Make sure that you follow and subscribe, and looking forward to talking to you soon on the next video. Bye-bye.